My three guys that I think can make All-Star game next year. J-Dub, Jalen Williams from the
Yes.
Oklahoma City Thunder,
Yes.
Alperen Şengün,
Ooh.
and outside shout Mikal Bridges. I think Mikal
Oh.
Bridges could be in the conversation the same way that Derek White was last year.
Okay. Okay.
That like he might not make it, but I think there'll be that push to get to that from a lot of people to get him in because I think he'll have that same sort of impact.
Okay. Homer take. I'll give it to you. Homer take for sure. Let's talk about J-Dub first. Um, he's kind of an easy one, right? Because no doubt OKC, unless everyone gets hurt, they're going to be a top three seed next year. And I think he's going to continue to get better. One thing that I think he will increase is his 3-point volume. One thing that I think he'll increase is his assist rate. He's continuously gotten better at that, and he's talked about wanting to become a more consistent shooter. And if that does come to fruition, if he's just taking a couple more threes a game and staying efficient, I mean, he's a 24, 5-5 type of player. And on a top three team and a contending team, and what he does on the defensive end, that's a first time All-Star bid right there. He should get votes. He should be in there. Um, let's talk about Alpi. Alpi's interesting. Alpi's interesting. Talk me through that because I don't I think it's just such a cluster right now what the Rockets are going to look like, and they can prove us all wrong, and they have everything figured out start of the season. They know their identity, what they want to do. Um, do you think he do you think the Rockets continue to play the way they did when he was healthy the first half of the season, or they kind of dabble? They dabble back and forth. Like what do you think that they do first half of the season?
I believe they played their best basketball last year when they were playing through Alperen Şengün, and I think it was a big hole in their team when he got hurt. I know Jalen Green really stepped up in those games where after Şengün went down, but I think Udoka believes in Şengün. I think Udoka is going to be happy to play through him again. He's kind of in a prove it year.
Mhm.
It's really tough to get paid by the Houston Rockets. They have a lot of young talent
Yeah.
there. You really have to show up and show out if you want to get paid by the Houston Rockets. And he's got to just he's under pressure there to really show off this year. And I think the team are going to play through him again. Hopefully he obviously he played, I think it was like 63 games last year. That's really solid. You want to get it up over 70 this year. He's improved year on year. I believe he's playing in a team that are only going to improve this year. I just think he can put up those sort of numbers and maybe he can boost his numbers up again. He was 21, 9, and 5 last year, shot 54% from the field. Like he was had a really, really strong season. I believe those numbers could boost up just a little bit and he could be playing, and especially coming into the All-Star break. Don't be surprised if the Rockets have a really hot start and then ultimately maybe drop off. But I think the timing of the All-Star game and the way the Rockets are going to play, I believe Şengün could really be able to shout.
Yeah, I think the question I have is about the direction they choose and the identity they ultimately want to have. They played very differently without him when he was hurt.
Mhm.
When they were playing Amen at the 5 and just the crazy kind of switchability they could have on the defensive end, how fast they could play without Şengün. Um, and it's tough to decide between those 2 because it comes down to how does this affect everybody else? And maybe one thing that can continue to get better is Alpi being a, playmaking hub.
Yeah,
How much more can they really dive into that Sabonis type of play?
yeah,
Because if they do that, then that a lot of things make a lot more sense. You can get your cutters more involved. You can really start to play inside out, get your shooters involved, get your Reed Shepherds open looks, and things start to get easy for everyone to kind of coalesce around that. But if the high octane play, maybe they can alternate that, and that would be the beauty of it. If they could you don't see that very often where teams find multiple identities in how they play, but they clearly have different modes. And if they can find a way to blend that, for sure. But I wonder if they just focus all the way in on defense, if they start to get away from it, because they looked like a team that could be really fast paced, high pressure defensively, spray the ball around, very athletic, and that was different from what Şengün brought. But to Şengün's credit, he's also a machine in and of itself. And if they decided to move on from that, dude, teams would be lining up,
yeah,
lining
yeah,
up.
Yeah, for sure. But like, yeah, like you said, there is still that question mark over their identity. There still is. You probably think right now, you obviously because the way they finished last year, you probably think they may be leaning more into being that high octane sort of team, which obviously doesn't really favor Şengün. But I still think there's that opportunity for him to be once again the offensive hope for that team.
Yeah.
Then Bridges, I mean, I don't think there's too much to say there. Like I said, he's going to be a bit of an outside show. I think he's going to get similar talk to what we heard from about Derek White last season. He's going to be on a team that I expect to be a top two seed, if not even a one seed, especially early in the year. He's going to have a similar sort of defensive impact, and probably I'm going to expect him to average somewhere in the 17 to 20 points per game. Hopefully, a bit more efficient than he was last year.
If the Knicks are the 1 seed and he's doing what he's doing, yeah,
There,
absolutely, absolutely.
it's not insane.
It's
Let's
well,
say that
it
for sure.
comes down to the Knicks being the one, and I guess I have pretty good faith that the Knicks will be the one or the two. I mean, if the Celtics are fully healthy and they keep pushing it on, then they're probably going to stay the best team in the East. They're probably still going to win the most games in the East. But I guess if the Knicks are there and they're doing it by committee, the way that I think they will, honestly, I think Mikhail's production will probably go down a little bit. Um, and it's kind of the same question with Şengün, a little bit, slightly different. But what do we see with Randall? How does Randall get
Mhm.
incorporated into this offense? Maybe the ideal role that we see for Mikhail is he's a supercharged superstar role player like he was in Phoenix. If Randall is the level of offensive player still and he can fit into what they're doing, then maybe Mikhail doesn't have to be an all-star level player. But I think if they really let things gel in a way that all three of them are able to do that, hell, maybe the Knicks have three all-stars, the number one seed in the East, and they're just an absolute monster. They're a three-headed monster on that end. Yeah, I'm putting a smile on your face, I know.
Please, Lord.
I mean, I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility. I think there's so much that you could simplify Mikhail's game, um, in a way that could amplify his production.
Mhm.
Doesn't have to take all these pull-up, threes. He doesn't have to take, three dribbles into the paint and try to score over two people. Like, he can have a really simple game. He could take half of his shots from the perimeter, not even moving around because of just the spacing that you need to provide Jalen Brunson and the amount of gravity that you're gonna get there, and maybe even the amount of gravity you're gonna get from Randall. So
Yeah.
he could play with either of those guys. Hopefully, Randall still stays good, and maybe you have three All Stars. I hope that that's the case because that would be the ultimate contender to the Celtics